All right. Hello. Welcome to another golden coin. I've had several interesting conversations over the last few weeks, especially since I was threatened in council chambers by the video person in the video. Uh, Many people agree that it was a setup. Of course, I shared it on the Reddit forums, and I wasn't. Someone said I was being misleading, but I wasn't being misleading. I was giving you all the information I knew at the time, waiting for more information to come in. And yes, I do have a witness who heard the guy threaten me. Uh, the person that we all disagree with is who it was. Regardless of whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Lots of things are about to change in the world. Um, I suggest you pay attention to what's going in Africa. The Nigerian government, Nigerian people just ousted the West, French government, from their country. Bravo on them. Thank you for standing up for yourselves. Uh, and then when France uh, was offered retaliation, many other African countries stood by them, and it was very heartwarming to see. Um, the Battle of Montgomery is one of the most amazing pieces of cinematography and memes to have ever come out of my lifetime, I think. Bravo, congratulations, well done. Thank you, police officers, for siding with the right people. Um, I felt that. Those people were obviously in the wrong. Uh, the white people were. uh, God. Um, However, uh, I've decided that lately what I've been doing is going out and um, using the money I would have used for my dog's food and helping people in my community that need it. Um, and I'm really appalled by what's happening here. Uh, Tax increment financing is way huge no. Huge no. I mean, granted, if they were to do it in the right way and use it in the right way instead of gentrification, because people say it's the only way to get money, whatever. No, you can get grants. You can literally get grants. Get a good grant writer. There's so much money in the government that goes unspent because people don't know how to write grants for it. Um, I'm too dumb. I'm still focused on trying to heal my heart, and that's one thing I want to bring up is, you know, I don't know how to reconcile with my community who obviously hurt me and covered up. Someone told me the other day when they were asking about it, they said that one year it's like one day I was the headline, and then the next day no one heard nor hide nor hair of it. Um, and it's a severe injustice. And I guess this will be the thing that we think about is what happened during the court case, because there was something that happened that uh, I don't know why the arresting officer uh, Smith didn't come and retestify. And I'm not sure actually how, like, it was like they knew how I was going to respond. right? Because even Matt Jennings, when I cried out in protest when the final piece of evidence was shown, he was like, he was, like he's like, hold on, let it play. He's like, let this proceed. And Judge Vanetta, I mean, just looking at this piece of fake evidence that was presented as the surprise and last piece of thing that they could find, it was almost like it was like a gift. Uh, like they wanted me to win. Um, and that's kind of one of the thoughts that came to me the other day when I was thinking about it, because I endured a lot. I did. Like, but I mean, I guess the military prepared prepared me for that, because there was a lot of things I got in trouble for. I got a lot in trouble for a lot of shit other people did and said, um, which consequently means that because they had no proof for it, they just took my days off away, uh, and made me work more, which in turn gave me the ability to talk about the things that I would partook in and understand them at a greater depth, because I wasn't flubbing around. Um, when I was in the military, I took it really seriously, and I want to honor the sacredness of the warrior class, because I felt JSOC was actually the supreme example of what it meant to be the warrior class. Like, I met several of the dudes that worked on the black side of the flight line, and I mean, I could only hope to mimic them, right? In their capabilities and my admiration of them, because even though we were used for, I feel essentially just someone's piggy bank, these guys took their job very seriously, and they were very good. Um, and I was just a young tadpole at the time. I was like the only thing I had going for me was I was a good church boy who was a wrestler. Like, I had athletic ability, and I like knew how to pay attention. Uh, and I picked up as much as I could. Like, I remember one of my sergeants telling me, church, the best leadership skills you're going to learn are from those who do it badly, because you're going to say, I don't want to do that. I won't be like that. And it's really weird to act on these principles that these very people gave me, integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. You don't teach these things to a guy like me who is a believer, who lives through his heart. You know, when I like, the propaganda worked on me. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. And my inner core remained untouched. And it's really sad that someone's new argument against me is that I killed American citizens, and I never did. I might have. I know my sin against Anwar al-Awlaki, and I've done my best to honor his name as someone chosen to fight against him, and I understand what a holy man is, and he was a holy man of the Muslim faith. He was doing what a holy man does, and I know the scriptures and well enough to know that I can't fault this guy for doing it, because America is Babylon right now. We are the biggest problem causer in the world, and everyone looks down on us, but they're afraid of us. That was my conversation today with several people. Like, they admire my stance and what I'm doing, and they say some people say I should follow the rules. No, I followed the rules, and they still fucked me. That's the thing that we should understand about the trial that I had was I followed the rules and complied every step of the way. I was patient. Hurry up and wait. Ooh, I know how to do that so good. Thank you, Third SOS. Like I had to do a lot of sitting and waiting and understanding the process of bureaucracy. COVID helped me in the end. Um, like it's this world just doesn't feel real sometimes when I interact with it because the principles that I was given, love thy neighbor as thyself. I might no longer be Christian. In fact, I don't believe anything that has come from the Catholic Church has been essentially good for us. Like they might be giving us a story of Christ, but they go about it in such a the more I read the occult, the more I understand how horrible it is. Uh, and what am I supposed to do? The more you open that eye and understand, the more it's kind of like pretty terrible. And I think the worst part about it is that I used to believe in the brotherhood of mankind, the brotherhood of the soldier. Like, why would we, like, even though we understand that we were used in the wrong way, why would we permit others to be that way? Why would we permit the sword to be turned against people who were innocent? And I know historically, blah blah blah, Brandon, that's not what humanity is all about, blah blah blah. But can we just imagine for a moment the noble warrior path? God, it's like the people who keep saying that I threatened people's lives. No, I didn't threaten anyone's lives. How many times do I have to tell you? No. Like what I did for the military, I would never ever want to do that again to my soul. Like I'm trying to get people to understand that I have seen so much violence and it's at our doorstep with the way that things are going with the hoarding of resources and the being violent towards one another. It's incredible. There's all these people who like I talk to so many people who just talk about violent revolution and who say that, you know, if that's how it's supposed to be, the blood of the freedom or the tree of freedom, liberty is watered by the blood of patriots or whatever fucking bullshit that they need to give themselves. But no, we don't need to do that. Like I'm okay with drone technology if it wasn't used to blatantly murder people. Track them down, let them free. I mean, you already got the system to do it. You know, I bet you if you looked at all the data that has been accumulated on Facebook and the NSA and given to the market, like they what have they done with it? They've just fucked with it. Like they haven't really given us anything essential. You know, it could be used for way better purposes. Like human beings gathering data on itself is essentially a higher conscious thing. Like we need to know ourselves. We need to understand ourselves. And that needs to be freely given. And the interesting thing is all this taxpayer funded stuff belongs to the people and should be utilized by the people. And my adopted father had gave me something to think about today right before I came in. He's like, what would your grandfather say? And he would say that the greatest sinner could become the greatest saint. All they have to do is just say that they won't do that again. Son or whatever religion that you believe is all you. And we need to honor that in other men. We need to honor other traditions and learn from them and understand why we believe in these things and why we act upon these things. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, why grieve for that for which no grief is due and yet profess wisdom? The wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead. There was never a time when I was not, nor thou, nor these princes were not, and there will never be a time when we will cease to be. As the soul experiences infancy, youth, and old age in this body, so finally it passes on to another. The wise have no delusion about this. And one of the things that you should know is one person told me that I was being blamed for the suicides that happened in the drone program when I started speaking out against the squadron. Not even the squadron, the activities that we were doing. And I don't even know, no one told me who did it. Maybe there were new people who couldn't cope with it. Someone tried to shift blame onto me when we know he violates something else against the principles of our hearts, the principles of the soul within us. We know. And my sympathy goes with my brothers and sisters who they're in the military because the military pays a living wage. They survive. It's a job. But what I'm asking for you to do, you don't even have to protest fighting. You know, a wise warrior knows when to fight and when not to fight, and to conserve their energy for when it's important. And granted, sometimes you don't get to choose. And so you must meet that simply because you've prepared to meet it with whatever it is that you have at hand. And the only thing that you will ever have at hand is yourself. These are principles that I learned on the wrestling mat. You know, I might have my team who's going out there and doing their best, but when we practice together in the wrestling room, that's our interaction. We test each other, we train each other, we make sure we're better than we were before, that we learn from our mistakes, that we go forward, that we progress. I mean, that when we're on the mat, that's when we prove it. And I miss it. I didn't take it too seriously growing up. I was good, but you know, whimsical. But that's okay. I don't need the glory. I never needed it. All I wanted was freedom. And, with the rules that I got growing up, I felt like I had a lot of freedom under God's guidance. Being told every day, God will watch over your father who, was the seed that planted you in your mother's womb might not love you, but your father in heaven loves you very much. Like that's the shit that I was told. You know, and I had so much trust, and people don't understand is like that first time I pulled that trigger and I knew someone under my crosshairs were gonna die, and the click was all you felt. It felt like I killed my own inner child, my own inner hope, my own innocence. I don't know. And I had to trust people that what we were doing was right, but my inner world said no. What we were doing was wrong. And I only talk about the things that I did, not the many of the things. There's many things that I witnessed that I hope maybe one day my brothers and sisters will reconcile with me, and I can tell their story, let them tell their story properly. I'd even make reconciliation with stupid Rainerson because he fucking has insight that we don't have. Like there was really never any reason that we should have ever fought. And I might pick on him a lot, but he kind of deserved it. He kind of deserves it. Uh, but I still still he served, and even though he's the worst of the brotherhood, he's still part of the fucking brotherhood. And so Christ even says, "So ye treat the least of these, so ye treat me." I can't get these teachings out of my head that my grandfather gave me. And so when I go around town and I see the homeless and I see what would Jesus do? If I had the ability to heal the sick and feed people with just a few pieces of bread, I would. And my heart hurts over the pain that I feel from others. I try to be kind and I try to be gentle and I try to be encouraging and I say, I can't give you much, but here's what I can give you. And it just doesn't seem like it's enough. And even the idiots that I went up against the city council with, I forgave all of them. I have no anger in my heart towards them. I have a lot of sadness because I remember loving them as part of my brothers. Now, the Vedic theology says that which is pleasure at first becomes painful later, and that which is bitter at first is like a nectar later, and the essence of discipline. And I think about my brothers and all the people that I cared about and where we're at now, and that's what I grieve for. That's that's where my heart's at. And no amount of anger is gonna get over it. Actually, the funny thing is this guy threatening me at city council. It's thrilling, like the thrill of combat, the thrill of, and it's not just physical combat. Like, ooh, someone is trying to intimidate me. Failed their intimidation check. It's mostly because I'm oblivious most of the time. I mean, he did a good job. Like he did a pretty good job being menacing right there, and he caught me focusing on the city council's. I mean, I don't even remember what the city council was saying. Something about decorum, and seeing Mr. Rent-A-Cop, Sir Rent-A-Lot, standing right there. Uh, Someone told me the other day that I wouldn't have get away with this if I didn't look like the white man I was. I am. I mean, maybe they're right. You know, but I will do everything in my power to prevent violence from happening in my city. I will do everything in my power to do that. And as long as people are seeing me face off against this stuff and freely able to do so, I don't care if it affects you or not. I'm just going to do it. It's my right to be your adversary, and I can do it non-violently, and I'll do it non-violently. And heck, we might get a really good piece of entertainment out of this, you know, theatrical bullshit. But I ain't gonna hide. I ain't gonna pretend. I ain't gonna do anything. I'm gonna confront you with the truth. And it's painful and bitter sometimes. But please, maybe if you hear what I have to say, maybe you will see what I've endured. And you'll feel the same anger at the oppressed, not at them, but at the oppression. Because this very thing that's happening, this corporatization of America, is pretty much the very thing that our forefathers stood up against. And they're counting on violence 100%. So we must act without it as far as possible. Not that we're unprepared for it, not that we're not ready to face it, but that we must do everything in our power to not be the instigators. They've already instigated, they've already done violence. Our job is to meet them in the higher fields of battle, the courtroom, if we can, and get the court system to start siding with the people, being the balancer. There's a reason why the symbol is the scales, right? To balance the thing and the power that they should be representing the lesser power and evening the scales. That's where the courtroom is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the ultimate. Uh, I think that the arena of the mind. Right? Shit. I've been trying to read some international law. Oh, like yeah, people who study that shit and have the mind for it, I bravo to you. Like you need I hope you guys start doing the right thing and holding these people accountable because we can't continue on this path of whatever it is that we're going down. Um, there is a time for profit and there's a time for loss. And maybe it is a time that we step back and use whatever profits that we have instead of parasiting the world and our fellow man is figuring out what it is that we can do. I heard somewhere, I don't know how true this is, that $20 billion would fix poverty in the world for all time. And we have trillions of dollars being spent. Food's a weapon. What we're doing is destroying the earth for literally no gain. We don't know if we're even going to survive. Like we don't even know with this the West being kicked out of Africa right now if the petrodollar will maintain stability. We might have just seen the end of the US dollar. And how many communities in Montana are ready to face that? Some people are upset that the people in Missoula, the homeless here in Missoula, are from not Missoula. Well, pretty much most of them are from Montana and they just come to Missoula because we have the facilities and we should be able to have these facilities. And what these facilities should be able to do is take you in and say, where are you from? Do you want to go back to that place? Then let's set up something because there is plenty of things for people to do. There are plenty of like crafts that we can like, even if people don't have to do anything. They don't have to pay their electricity. They don't have to pay their rent or whatever. And we get people housed in so many of the empty complexes that are in the state. Like we get people housed in there. We can start preparing for these things that are going to happen. Like we can start educating people on growing food. We can start, being responsible. Making our government responsible. Heck, if the corporations want to get involved, they can sponsor this shit, right? But we need to do something. We need to figure out a balance. And it's not against wealthy or the poor, though it might seem that way. It's really the merchant class versus everybody else. Because the educated class aren't really wealthy, though there are wealthy and poor both. And the warrior class is, we're kind of wealthy right now, but we shouldn't be. Um, and the labor class has been exploited, but the money has been hoarded by the merchant class, by the aristocracy class, and uh, it's either use that money responsibly or we'll see what's happening all over the world and people will take it from you or destroy you. And I mean, legal paperwork means what to some flame, and there are very lots of people that are headed that way, and we got to prevent that. you know we have to figure out what to do. We have to move forward, and we have to be prepared for excruciating pain. You know, watching people suffer at the hands of, I mean, we're the wealthiest country in the world and we can't take care of our people. How absurd is that? In Montana, there are more elderly people being evicted and being put on the street than ever before. And, you know, those were the people that built this place, that were here first, that were have been here the longest, and we can't take care of our elders. Our education system sucks. I'll frankly, I think that there's something in the water that might have made us dumb over the years, and I was somehow gone and avoided that. But like, our education system's atrocious right now. We had a guy, his name was Dr. Apostle, was the highest paid government employee in the state as the state superintendent of schools, uh, and he destroyed so many programs. Um, and we have something so unique to offer. Our history here is so unique. We should be making reparations with the local natives. We should be uplifting them instead of, you know, the police say that they get $300,000 a year to monitor and police the fentanyl crisis, but where is this shit coming from? You know, people are telling me that it's coming. There are people that get this stuff and they're being told that there are government people spreading this shit around. And there are also gang members that have just seemed to be moving into Missoula. And it's another world. I don't even know. It's so fucking bizarre. But while we're busy fighting each other, Mother Nature is going to beat the shit out of us. And we are unprepared. I can't tell you how many people call me a fear monger for telling this, but like, I keep okay. One of the teachings that my grandfather gave me was when Daniel read the dreams of the king Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, right? And he dreamed, oh no, it was Joseph and the Technicolor Raincoat, uh, for the Pharaoh, where the guy had 7 cows that were fat and healthy, and then later on 7 cows that looked starving came and ate the 7 fat cows, and Joseph said, "Well, that means that you're going to have 7 years of prosperity to prepare for the 7 years of famine." And you know, turns out it was true, and they had prepared for it. And you know, Joseph's family comes and they ask for succor, and they don't recognize him, and all sorts of stuff. But the idea is the same. Like, we've had these guys who have seen, like, not just the dream, but physicists and world leaders in environmental studies who, whether they believe in God or not, doesn't matter. What they've seen is the cause and effect, and they're clairvoyant enough to see where the causes that we've done will have an effect in the future. And while that might seem mystical to some, it's simple. One of the simplest laws that govern this realm that we're in. Um, and the fact that people can spend money to displace correct information, that they could sell us stuff with false advertising on it, you know, sell us something organic that might not actually mean what it says, or whatever. It's atrocious. We've allowed these guys to do this for $1, and we don't hold them accountable. Sure, I don't care if they hold all the money. Like, they have a responsibility. There's like a spiritual responsibility with that, you know, and you can abuse it very easily, and they have been. I don't want money. You know, I just want enough to live my lifestyle and to be at peace and to pay for my food and housing. So I really don't want much. Like, you know, I'm sick. You know, I've got some sort of sickness in my gut, and you know, it's a wasting thing. Don't know what it is. He doesn't care. The government doesn't care. So working on trying to hold out as long as possible. But you know, I won't get to see my son grow up. I won't get to see him wrestle. One of the things I wanted is to have him wrestle at the high school that maybe not I wrestled at, but my grandpa wrestled, coached at, and me be his coach. Yeah, I didn't imagine the trouble that would happen. Just trying to tell the truth. The separateness, the loneliness, the isolation. I've kind of jumped into the isolation a bit. They say loneliness kills you, and I don't mind if it takes a few years off my life, decades. I wouldn't care if my soul just left my body right now. I got nothing. I got nothing but the fight. My whole life is in shambles. My whole personal life. And I'm alone truly for the first time ever. And it's I don't know. Like free fall, no support. And I've even tried to give basic principles, like talk about, well, what does Sun Tzu say? You know, there are 5 principles that I can see that if uh, I look at people fighting, I can tell who's going to win. And there's the moral law, there's heaven, earth, the commander, and the sovereign. You know, and the moral law is the most important. Heaven represents the climate, earth represents terrain, the sovereign represents the person who is the highest ideal in the country that you're fighting for, and the general represents the capability of command. And by these things, you can tell whether or not someone's going to win. And if you don't have the moral law, you will always lose. Though Sun Tzu also does say there's no uh, success in protracted warfare. Um, so, I mean, we can go all sorts of violations that where is happening right now. But even when I explain this, and then they're like, okay, what moral law do you prescribe by? Well, I prescribe by the Eastern warrior laws, you know, the Taoist and the Buddhist and the, Shaolin monks and the uh, all these other the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is probably the greatest warrior scripture because it's an atrocious situation. This is why I like the fact that the Matt Jennings used this against me in the court of law, because I can now actually freely talk about this, because the Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna is ready to fight against his family, and he gets brought into the center of the ring, and Lord Krishna is like, behold, the family of Kuru assembled. And Arjuna sees everyone that is his whole family, and he's like, I can't do it. I can't. And that was what I was trying to express to the city council before. If people had not interrupted me and gone their own fucking direction on what I was trying to express, I was first trying to express the grief that I felt. I shouldn't be fighting against them. Why should I be fighting against my own countrymen for a kingdom? I would rather them kill me unarmed and unresisting. I would rather live with a beggar's crust than kill these teachers of mine, these precious noble souls. To kill these people who were my benefactors would be to stain the sweetness of life's pleasure. And for that, what would be worth a kingdom in any of the three worlds? And I felt that. When I was going to city council, I felt that. That's what I felt going to city council, is like, this is the grief that I feel. I feel this grief fighting against you because A, John Anglin knew my family. John Anglin went to high school with my uncle. And the fact that I have to fight against him, no, he knew what he was doing. People think that there's secretive here, but they're not. I was an imagery analyst, and I got some like side tutoring from some of the other 1Ns, and I barely remember some of it, but digging into the people, the dossiers of the people of the city council, like, it's not like they really tried to hide their activity. Just came across something about Gwen Jones bothering people of the HOA she's in over planting trees. You know, it's interesting what you uncover and what can be uncovered. And it's interesting that these people still keep getting elected and we can't hold them accountable for what they've done. But why should I have to fight against these people? Why can't they just do their job? Why can't I just get on with my life? You know, people, the guy threatened me, get on with your life. People on the internet, get on with your life. You should just get a life. Like, what the fuck? Are you serious? This is my life. I have been trying to go on. I dropped everything and just was like, okay, I'm going to go the other way. And now I can't because of activities that the city council did behind the scenes that I pretty much think most everyone knows about and turns a blind eye to, because I've gone to the city police department about it. I've gone to the county sheriff's department about it. I've got several city council members diving into it, and a couple other law-like people, and no one can really figure out what the fuck is going on. You know, no one can come up with a solution for me. And it seems like we're obstructed at every opportunity. How much taxpayer money has been spent obstructing me from simply getting on with my life because I've hurt the military industrial complex, their honor? No, I didn't hurt your honor. You hurt your honor. It was either going to be revealed by me, who did it in the best way that I possibly could fucking think of without being violent, knowing that people who were my fucking swore the same oath were ready to kill me. You know, I'm honestly surprised I've survived this long. My mom thinks I'm protected by God. Only God knows that, if that's the case. Yeah. And should God deem me unworthy of his protection, I would accept it. I'm just doing my best here. And this grief, you know, it's why my last gate of darkness, you know, the gates of darkness are three: lust, avarice, and wrath. Should a man avoid them, he avoids great calamity in his life. And wrath is my last gate, and I'm right there. I'm right at the Hell's Gate. I chose the Dragon of Hell's Gate because it pisses people off to proclaim something like that. But I was the 200th Dragon of the Third SOS, and an area called Hellgate Canyon, so it fits. And but I really do feel like I'm at Hell's Gate, that one wrath, and it's a fire, but it comes from grief, not madness. And if I could find comfort and care and love and community, maybe this pain in my heart and soul would go away. If I could be in my son's life and not have to chase his mother all over the world to find out where she fucking is because my own government won't help me do it. I will, regardless of whatever stands in my way. And I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I want to be in my son's life. This person forged paperwork in my name, and no one has given me the opportunity to stand up for myself. And so I will stand up in the fire and the fucking flame for this kid. My father lived 40 minutes north of me and never once was in my life. The only thing that I want in this life is to be a part of this kid's life and make sure that he knows that his dad loves him. That's it. He can be whatever it is. He could be a little turd. He could be a little gentleman. I would hope that he would become a little gentleman. His mom had pretty high standards. I don't know why she chose me. uh, but, you know, and honestly, no. And you gave me the gift of looking at him and interacting with him that time. You did a good job. You were doing great. Regardless of whatever you think about me, I think that you've done a great job. At least as far as I could tell. And I'm sorry that they terrified you. Maybe one day you can get the opportunity to tell your story and be praised for it. And you, my son, here's the blessing that my grandfather gave me. May you make friends easy. Because it's pretty hard to do at times. May you remember every word. And may you be exactly who you believe yourself to be. I don't know what I believe myself to be. I have all this knowledge and all this stuff in my head that I don't even want anymore. I would give up my scriptural learning if I could. It's done me no good. I know, I can't say that. It's the only thing that's really gotten me through, but it's isolated me. And maybe that's the point. Maybe my job isn't to minister like my grandfather did, but to carry on his teachings and maybe pass it on someday to someone who would know what to do with it. Because my brothers and sisters won't listen. My family doesn't listen. I've tried to share it so many times, and you know, I've helped plenty of people, you know. I've counseled plenty of people like my grandfather would, but and I remember Bible study. I hate Bible study. I will let you know that looking back on it, I was so studious of the Bible, and I knew it because my grandfather would, and I'd answer all the questions. I look back on it and I hate myself, little turd self. But I had no idea what was happening. I thought I was being a good Christian by understanding scriptures, and hanging out with my grandpa. But what good does this do in this society if no one knows the principles of right conduct? Basic principles. We're finally back in full circle, back to the title of the golden coin episode, basic principles. Uh, you know, I even just read the first three chapters of the Gita. I'm not sure if I should do three or four, but the first three chapters are pretty swell. Four chapters are great introduction, full introduction to the entire principles of the rest of the book. Okay. Um, and then 5, you start getting into the details. And it's strange that one of the reactions was someone was like, "So do you think you're God because Krishna says so?" And I believe I'm part of it. I it's like, we see ourselves as a moon in the reflection of the water, right? And maybe my moon, if God is the moon and we are the reflection in the water, I think mine's a little ripply, uh, and not too clear. But I believe that I'm part of it. I'm part of this creation. How much is a fruit a part of the tree? It's still got the seeds in it that, if planted, will grow another tree and produce more fruit. You know, the all this occult stuff that I'm learning is that mankind, each individual is supposed to progress along the route to godhood or severance from it. You can go the opposite way if you wish. In fact, actually, like both the final teachings in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Ramayana are, hey, that the teachers instructed, like, hey, I'm going to give you one last thing, and then you can do as you wish. Okay. Uh, and it's all about the same as the Book of Lamentations is, giving it up to, we don't own anything. We're only here temporarily. So we might as well do what's in front of us. We might as well get to work. I'm pretty done with this escapism bullshit. Um, I've been really patient. And if my generation doesn't want to be the last generation or the lost generation, then it's our turn to step up and do the right thing and make sure that these people that are in charge doesn't take us down the route that will fuck us up entirely. So, take it for what you will. I have a lot to think about. Several conversations that I've had lately. Because I don't know what to do. I'm just acting on the principles that I was given, utilizing the teachings I was given. That's love your neighbor like yourself. Even they say love your enemy, or love your neighbor and hate your enemy, but I tell you this, love your enemy and bless those who persecute you. Because really, do you want to know why you love your enemy? Because your enemy gives you the opportunity to stand up for something. And you bless those who persecute you because it helps build your resilience. If you understand the principles of right conduct and acting on it, they make you better. That's my deepest gratitude to Reinierson. And though I do believe that they could have done better, um, maybe chosen someone who had integrity. But I'm pretty sure that they just sent Rhaenyra after me like a fucking bulldog. He's just grabbed on something and just stuck on it. He was just used. He wasn't an adversary. And that's what I feel bad about, you know. It's funny. Yeah. What an experience. I think the thing that kept me alive the most was that I was pretty much in shock and awe the entire what ride. Like, how does one prepare to experience what one experiences after, you know, serving in the military like I did, and then on my deathbed, it was literally on my deathbed that I blew the whistle, and had, I don't know, this is might seem like ass backwards, back asswards. Um, had I read sympathy in the comments from my fellow man, my fellow drone operators, I probably would have killed myself, and that would have been the end of it. Instead, them people that I knew who knew what I was saying was true, who they turn around and they attack me and stab me in the back, like that. Those guys right there. I don't know if you understood this, but that gives me fire. I love combat. I love standing up against bullies. You know? I like being the adversary. Maybe that's my job, is to just be the adversary to whatever crosses my path. Because I'm certainly not the good guy in many people's eyes. It's surprising about how many people just hate my guts. I don't know. I don't even know. Like I literally try to treat everyone well and with respect, and there's just so many people that fucking hate my guts. And the only time that I don't treat you with respect is I'm gonna give you whatever it is that you give me. You know, if you're gonna be a shitbag to me, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it is that I want. I earned my freedom. I paid for it in blood and heart and soul. I'm gonna do whatever it is the fuck that I want. And I don't want to take down the government or any of that type of bullshit. I just want it to work. I want it to function so that I can raise my son and love the cultures that are across my planet without wondering whether or not we're going to kill each other over a penny. I've had several people tell me that I'm important lately, and never in my life have I felt important. I felt that the things that I was doing was important, but never once that I was important. And I still don't think that I'm important. But I do think that I have an experience worth sharing and knowledge worth sharing. But me, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've just never found someone who enjoys just the pleasure of my company. Huh. Well, maybe we'll end on that depressing note. Thank you for sharing my grief and for listening if you've even bothered. But this is just maybe some rambling. Give up all your doubts. Resort to moral courage. Be a great doer of action, a great enjoyer of delight, and a perfect renouncer.